until you see Jannah. Subhanallah. That's why Ibn al-Qayyim another say, he said the Jannah begins from, you have to see it now. Sirat al-Mustaqim. The word said, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, guide us to the straight path. The straight path does not begin from the grave. You're too late. The straight path becomes now, when you reach the age of puberty. Jannah begins, and the straight path begins here, when you're standing in salat in front of Allah. If you perfect the standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your salat in this life, it means you are good in Yawm al-Qiyamah. Because this same staying now in Jama'at, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he says in Yawm al-Qiyamah, all the all the people will be standing before Allah, like in salat. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call the one malak. He says, As-sujud. يوم يكشف عن ساق ويدعون إلى السجود فلا يستطيعون الله أكبر وقد كنتم تدعون وأنتم سالمون. This ayah, wallahi, it's scary. In the day of judgment, and I close with this, in the day of judgment, when the people are standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah, you are here, alhamdulillah ya Rabb, Allah will call an angel to call the people to make sujood to him. Fasjud, make sujood to Allah. يوم يكشف عن ساق, the day when Allah comes, وجاء ربك, your Lord is coming with the malaika, وجاء ربك, on his throne, and he will call the people to make sujood, and the people will see that beauty, that majesty, and they want to make sujood. Allah, and the hypocrites, all the believers who did make sujood in this dunya, their back so flexible, and they make sujood immediately. The minute they see this majesty and this beauty, because when you see Allah, you fall in sajda. When you see Allah, faces, they are brightened, they are looking at Allah. It's a surah, it's an ayah in the Quran that you are going to see Allah. And those people who did not make sujood correctly in this dunya, they will pull their head and their back would stiffen in. It's like a steel on their back. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those who can hear the right thing and implement the good things. Come close, inshallah. لا إله إلا الله اللهم يسر أمري واشرح صدري. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. The ulama, they say there is qawaid, and I close with this, qawaid al-sabr, arkan al-akhlaq. There is everything, like salat has pillars, akhlaq, shukr has pillars. Everything in Islam, the ulama, they come up with pillars of the good moral character. Number one is as-sabr. Because you are going to deal with people, you may not be satisfied. And dunya is meant for bala and trials and tribulation. Even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One time, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting, and somebody, his name is Zayd ibn al-Ahbar, is a Jewish man that he studied the scripture of Judaism, and he knows the description of all the descriptions of the Prophet ﷺ was apparent to him. And he knows that this is the Prophet, but I need two more. I couldn't see them. And these two things is al-hilmu wal-anat, which is one of the pillars of akhlaq. It's hilm, forbearance. When I went and I looked at the word hilm, which is Allah Halim, the Prophet ﷺ have hilm. Hilm is forbearance, and forbearance is extreme patience. And when somebody forces you to become angry or aggravate you, you become even more high moral character. So they cannot actually take you. And those are the two descriptions that this Yahudi, that he read on his books and his Torah, that this Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the only thing I need is two things. So he's following him wherever he goes. And one time, a man from another village, he came and he says, Ya Rasulullah, we are hungry, we don't have food, we need some money. So the Prophet ﷺ looked at Ali radiallahu anhu, he said, there is any money to give to these people? Please, immediately generous. The Ali, he says, Wallahi ya Rasulullah, we have nothing in our house. And this Zayd, Al-Ahbar, nobody knows him, but they know Zayd, but they didn't know this is him. He says, Ya Muhammad. He didn't say Ya Rasulullah, because he was not Muslim yet. He says, Ya Muhammad, I have the money. He gave him the money for a reason. He wants to test you. He said, Ya Rasulullah, here you go the money. He says, okay, I will return it to you in this amount of time, and this is, he says, agree. And they agree upon it, it's a certain time, let's say 6 months. But the guy comes in 2 weeks. And the Prophet sitting with his people, imagine you are sitting and you are the authority in Medina. And he says, Ya Muhammad, where is my money? All of you, Abu Abdul Muttalib, Muttal means you are procrastinating about returning the money to people. See, imagine he does this on a test actually. And then he's put the Prophet from, can you believe? And Umar ibn al-Khattab was there, Sahaba was there. Umar ibn al-Khattab took his sword, and the Prophet says, Mahlan ya Umar, stop, oh, Umar, what you gonna do? And then he went to him, Ya adu wa nafsih, you the enemy of yourself. أتفعل هذا لرسول الله when I'm here and you do this to the Prophet Muhammad like this? The Prophet ﷺ, he says, Ya Umar, you are terrifying him. This is a poor guy, you're scaring him. Can you believe this? Somebody who's struggling the Prophet like this. So he says, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Umar, take him to Baytul Mal, give him his money, exactly how much he gives me 2 weeks ago, and give him 20 mithqal of dinar, give him 20 more of this amount of money, جزاء ما روعته, the recompensation of what you terrifying him. Why are you dealing with this brother like that? Subhanallah, what akhlaq is this? The guy went with Umar, and Umar, he gave him the money, and he says, here you go, another 20. He says, why are you giving me 20? He says, because Rasulullah told me to give you your money, and I give you more because I scared you. He says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Umar, he says, why you did all of what you did? He says, don't you know who I am? He says, no. He says, Ana Zayd al-Ahbar. قال له, Zayd, you are Zayd al-Ahbar. You are the scholar of the Jew. Because there is no internet at that time, no phone, no pictures. He didn't know. He says, Ana. He says, Wallahi ya Umar, I did not do what I did, except that I have seen all the description of Muhammad in our books. All of them came true except 1 or 2 of them, and this is the one that says the more I force him to aggravate him, the more mercy and the more merciful that he is. And I saw it with my own hand, with my own eyes. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And here you go, all half of my money fi sabilillah, and I am Muslim until he died in Ghazwat Tabuk, defending Islam and the Muslims. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا في